So thank you very much for the survey. Here is the recording taken during the survey for your memory, your information. I may make some changes later on. I'm updating the software for the data logger, so please send me updates. I will analyze those and send you an analysis later on. Thank you again. It's just in the corner there. Thanks.
In-house finance team and insurance company.
Oh, right, okay.
The Lloyd's market.
Yeah. Do you have to go into...
3 days a week. So 35.
Is it actually in the Lloyd's building?
No, we're just opposite one building. Cheesemaker.
So it's 10.23 there. I'm going to go back up. So you're getting a lot of heat loss in the corner there. I mean, that's a relative measure, but it's down to 14 something I saw on stage. As is usual, corners have heat loss. This is a relative measure, so you don't want to worry too much about the colour. So long as it's, you just look, I'm looking always at the coldest number, the lowest number even. And we're going to go back down here. Oh, imagine you get condensation, visible condensation here. See how cold it is? Because you've got the cap flap and heat loss around the reveals, that's the edges between the inside of the wall basically. So it's down to 4.9, something like that at the base. So that explains why you're getting condensation there. So this is a Thermo Pro, and they're going to be the same sort of concept of data loggers as the ones that I normally use. Some are in Fahrenheit, some are in centigrade. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this half an hour in this calibration chamber, which has got salt and water, and I'll mark down the numbers, and then it can be used manually in the on the computer. At the moment, you can only do one at a time for the calibrations, because the calibration is, I know you can do two at a time, so 2 at a time. But if we can do it on the data logger itself and it's on the app, then it's better. So I'm not familiar with this, but maybe up here there's a delete data, export data, device address. Now I'm looking for a calibration system, but I don't see it. But actually one thing is, so it's in Fahrenheit, which is fine, but it is better to have it in the same. It's maybe no, be good to have all in the same unit, but that's fine. So this is what we're looking for. This is the relative humidity, and it's with salt and water, which has a specific relative humidity of 75%. And just give it half an hour to get to equilibrium, and then see what the difference is, and we can just adjust it on the data logger site. So that's all good. I can see this door is left open, possibly quite a lot, and so you're going to get the humidity of the kitchen, and there is some mould down there, but it's not really surprising because it's cold, it's unheated, it's getting the vapour from the kitchen. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on that, but yeah, it's always going to be an area of vulnerability. There always are in these properties. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use a protimeter. So this is a standard Survey Master protimeter, which I tend to do when, well actually funnily enough it's relatively dry. Oh no, there we go. Sorry, it was on the, that bit of plastic was in the way, so we'll ignore all of that. So it's using a Survey Master protimeter. damp until about... This is the cold reveal. I'll show it on a thermal imaging camera, but you'll see why you're getting condensation there. So I'm just coming outside to have a look. The brickwork looks pretty good. Your neighbours have had damp proofing treatment, and the problem with that, it reduces the insulating effects of properties and therefore increases the risk of condensation and mould. So just make the people downstairs aware that they are running a bit of a risk having damp proofing treatment. It increases dampness, unfortunately. The branding is all in the name, isn't it? Damp proofing. Which marketeer came up with that idea? Anyway, I'm going to now get a thermal imaging camera. We'll have a look, but it's open. So I'll give you some tips and tricks on that in order to pass it by surveyors. Oh no, what I was going to say. So most surveyors actually use this type, and it's showing damp there. And I'm afraid a typical surveyor is going to say you've got rising damp, but of course you haven't. I mean, you don't have it in London. It's impossible because all the groundwater is pumped out. And anyway, damp proofing treatment makes condensation worse, which is the main cause. So you've got it up to there, but I prefer this type of meter. It's more sensitive. It's marginally higher, but if you get I'll show you with a damp meter, another one, and just mark it and then allow it to drop through improved extraction. You've got the extractor fan going out there, which is great. Just double check that. So a simple test is it's not. It's going up. So I don't think it's working particularly well. No. Let's have a look, see what's happening. So we're just in Phoebe's room. We're just going to measure the dampness. That's dry there. So no problem in Phoebe's room. I'll have a look on the outside, but I don't see any reasons for concern. You're going to get condensation. Oh, that's within the window itself. No, Phoebe's room's fine. So, getting into the front bedroom. Oh, damp there. So we'll look at the reason for that. But it doesn't look like it's penetrating through. And it's dry there. So it's just in that corner. And it's essentially there. It's that crack down there. All the way down. We'll have a look at that. It's dry. So I think we should be drying clothes with a higher, faster dehumidifier. That's Miko. It looks like a 12-litre version. 10 litre. It's 10 litres. You should have 20 litre for drying clothes, especially if you're near a radiator, because that just speeds up the evaporation. So you need to overcome the speed of evaporation. But that's all good there. There's your bathroom fan there. So we're just going to the front door, and this is an unheated zone, but it's actually drying there. And likewise, there's damp there. And the reason why it's damper here than there is because you've got a large protuberance of wall there. I'll explain it on the outside. So this is a technique for testing the airflow using an anemometer on maximum, so that it's checking for the maximum reading, because you can't see it when it's out. And I'm just going to a bit of gaff tape, and I'm just going to put it out the window and measure it, and we'll see what the speed is. It looks way too slow. It's only showing 2 litres a second. That's the minimum, so I must do it again. We'll do it 19.1. So we'll try it again. It was on the minimum, not the maximum. So we're only measuring 6 litres a second at the maximum. So clearly not enough. And you can see when you look at the fins, it should be blowing more or less horizontally out. So I've just opened the hood up, and we can see that oh yeah, it is there. Okay, we're going to have a look at that. See if there's a restriction there. Just testing the theoretical speed. And there it is. 22, which is not taking those out, see how that goes. So the actual fan is producing 18, 19, but I've got a maximum of 22. So it's not running very fast. It must be, I guess, a bit old. In order to achieve a 30 outflow, which is what you need to really have at least 40 coming out of here, and it's 80. So, and the other thing is that a plastic ducting system, and unless they're completely taut, they're relatively slow, they reduce the flow rate. So anyway, basically the simplest solution is just run it more than you would normally, and could be topped on pots and pans. In some ways, it's more important to have a fan that isn't too noisy that you use than to have a fast fan. One of the big problems is people buy really fast fans that are so noisy, no one ever turns them on. So it's so long as you overuse it and you cook with tops on pots and pans, you'll be fine with it. I'll go and look at the bathroom one now. We're talking about having the door closed. Yes, it will reduce the amount of vapour that goes down there. It will also reduce the amount of heat that goes into there. But it's a double-edged sword. But the primary reason for mould is excess vapour. The secondary cause is low surface temperature. So if you get rid of the vapour in the first place, you won't have a high surface relative humidity, which you need for mould. And you do that by using the data loggers. So if we look at here, of course we've got a highly mathematical person here. So if we look at the relative humidity, it says 47%, which seems on the face of it really, really good. But the outside temperature at the moment is about 5 degrees centigrade. And I would say the inside wall is about 7-8 degrees centigrade. And I'm going to go and have a look. Yeah. So that 10 degrees centigrade drop in temperature will increase the relative humidity by about 50%, 5 times 10. So for every drop of 1 degree centigrade, it increases relative humidity by about 5%. And if I look, I've been running a hygrometer. I just switch it on, but it's a tiny size. It's telling me the dew point is 8.4, and mould growth or relative humidity goes above 85%. So taking that 5 degree equation, you can work out that the mould point is 8.4 plus 3, which is 11.4, and that wall, I can more or less guarantee you, is below the mould point and therefore at risk of growing mould. And once it's started growing, you'll continue to grow. So the essentially the 5 solutions, but the 3 primary ones are: drop the humidity, the vapour levels, drop the internal dew point, which is a measure of the amount of vapour in air, to the outside temperature by increasing the ventilation, targeted ventilation, so cooking, washing clothes, showering, and respiration, and not excessive plants, but every litre of water you put into a plant comes back out as a litre of water of vapour. So, and so even though this seems like it's you've got really good conditions because it's 49%, I seem to remember. Actually, when it comes to the surface relative humidity is a lot higher than that. I've created a calculator called mouldpoint.co.uk where you can calculate the actual surface relative humidity. I work it out because it's just 5 degrees, but 5% relative humidity per degree. So I can, being equally mathematical, I can work it out quickly. But I'll go and have a look at the ventilation, then look at the thermal. I'll look at the thermal imaging camera now because then I don't have to disturb you anymore. Are there any other areas here? I'll check. They'll all be part of the same thing though.
Not that we're concerned about in here. The main concerns are
Phoebe, but her room's dry. I'll have a look on the outside, but it's dry.
okay.
Front room is the only room with a bit of dampness, so I'm going to have a look on the outside there as well. And down at the base.
What's causing that paint peeling in there then? Is that...
Well, I'll tell you because I believe it's something on the outside, but it may be something to do with the construction, and the thermal imaging camera will tell me why. This is a technique for determining which is which. Put one in the freezer and you can quickly see the temperature drop. So it's that one there. So that's the little room, wasn't it?
Front room, yeah.
So we're just exporting it, and presumably, so
Is it this one?
it's updating. So okay, so it's down there. So export data, and then so your email address. I won't put that in, and then send it to myself, Simon@dampsurveys.com. That's for the Firm Pro. That's the one that was in the freezers. So in this room, you have a risk of mould, condensation, and dust mites behind this bed. Now I've moved it away from the wall. If you look at quite a few of my videos, you can see lots of mould growing near to children's beds. And the other thing is you can have the respiration end the other end. So, 2-year-olds still respire. And then the vapour, the exhaust pipe, the human exhaust pipe is that end rather than that end.
What about leaving that window on slightly open?
Yeah, I would do it. I would put it on the safety latch so that it's slightly open. And a mistake a lot of people think is that they want to keep it nice and warm for their babies. And, I get that. But in Norway and cold countries,
so 16 to 18 is ideal, right? Or lower, but never too hot.
It's better to have it lower but drier because you've got the window open. then humid. And so the key thing though is to reduce the risk of mould, because in the same environment you get mould, you get dust mites, and you can get allergies from dust mites. So I'd also vacuum around that area. But all I was saying is that you might want to move that mat so that it was the other end, and then just move it away from the wall, and then flip the mat out of the way when you need it. But you can experiment with lots of different things. The great thing about young children is they're very malleable and they get used to new things very quickly. I mean, maybe not immediately, maybe a bit of a kick up and fuss initially, but soon, So sometimes really, really little things make a big, big difference. And airflow is really key. It's one of the four, I'm trying to think of a good term for it, but not a triumphant, but the four squares of the solution. So airflow, heat, insulation, and dehumidification, and ventilation, and then dehumidification in total. But it's just reducing the vapour. I'll put these around and I'll be back in a second. I've got the bathroom extractor fan in. It's really not going fast at all. I wonder if it's some sort of humidistat. I'll investigate. Fantastic. So there's nothing majorly wrong. There's what are called backflow shutters, which I don't particularly like, and given that it's already got flaps to stop the air blowing it back in, it seems pointless. The top things shouldn't really be there, but in my experience they don't make a huge difference. I just wonder whether it's not working very well, a bit old. I'll do a bit of a clean up and see if we can improve it. So looking at the outside, what do we see? Also the gutter was not great. So it's running about 5 litres a second now, a bit better, 5.1. What I would say is keep the light on, because you want, at least while it's humid here, and close the door. We have concerns about dampness to the timber here. Well, it's marginally damp, but you've got a risk of condensation here. Oh, it is rotten there, but that's probably historic. There was a leak here. Did it look like this before the leak?
No.
So this is this.
In the last 6 months to 9 months.
Okay, well, but it looks like it's been. It looked. Well, you have got a brown rot. I would say, if I were guessing, that it's cellar rot. It isn't dry rot, you'd be pleased to know. Doesn't look like it. You have much bigger cuboidal cracking for dry rot. Could be another one that I don't really see very often. It's only marred. I mean, it's not really damp there. I mean,
paint as well, just above it on the right.
Oh yeah, it's damp there. So I mean,
And then up here as well.
yeah, and over there. Yeah, no, that I've already marked that, but that's damp. That's damp from condensation. You can tell that because it's calcium sulfate salts that are blistering behind the paintwork. And it's also in that cold zone there. So this wall here has a lot of outside wall, so it's drawing the heat out. So
it's the neighbour side as well will be the same. So
the neighbour side is the same, yeah, and it's unheated there.
Yeah.
So on this side, it's going to be heated by the downstairs neighbour, whereas this is unheated. So I think so. There are two approaches, but I think the first one is unnecessary, and that is to replace the timber. It's only skirting board, it's not going to be an arm and a leg. But the other one is to take it away, take the paint away, let it dry, get one of these damp meters. At the moment, it's really marginal. I mean, it really is should be below 20, and it is. But I'm not getting into that area then. There could be a bit of dampness, but I don't really want to damage the paintwork. But anyway, better to strip it back, remove the rotten timber, and put on what's called 2-pack or epoxy resin. I think there's a brand name that will come to me, but Ronseal, and that's generally considered the best for timber. So it's something that an enterprising homeowner can do quite happily. But I mean, you can obviously get general builders to do it, but it's like it's
Just a cost question then, isn't it?
yeah, but it's like half an hour's work, and then painting it. So it's probably worth giving it a go. You can find YouTube videos on it. So you will need to cut back around that. But I mean, I'd peel away this
All the rotten stuff.
yeah. And you want to really let it fully dry out. It's almost certainly comes from the leak historically, but this area is vulnerable. You can see that there's that rust staining there. It probably comes from, I would say most likely from condensation. This timber floor might be newish, difficult to know.
It was here when we arrived, but that was 5 years.
No, I meant sort of, like
Not original.
not original, yeah, not the original timber. But yeah, I'll take the paint away, let it dry. Unless you're rushing, you could give it a couple of months to dry it out fully. Totally remove the rot.
So like just sand the paint off the skirting board completely, basically.
No, you can just pull it back. You can scrape it.
Okay.
I mean, you even think about using a chemical.
Just like a
Whatever.
paint
Yeah, exactly. A paint stripper and remove it, but it would be worth doing it by hand first, because you'll get more off more quickly that way. And if it's damaged, you want to remove that timber. You want to cut out the damaged timber. If you have to cut out a chunk, it may be worth putting a bit of timber in there. But otherwise, the 2-pack you can do it in 2 or 3 goes. So you're sort of making it a final coat, nice smooth finish in the end. Sand it down and apply it. It's very easy to use it.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my recommendation.
Okay.
So you're getting a lot of heat loss on the outside, but also I do notice that there's some dampness in this brick. So I don't know whether it's coming from above or just bouncing off, or maybe it's historic. There's also this painted brick here that no one's done anything about, and you're getting micro cracking. But this isn't really subject to much rain, so I don't suppose it's a big thing. But this is acting as a thermal fin, drawing heat out, and this side is unheated, whereas this side is heated because your neighbours are downstairs. So I'm going to now try and understand what's happening. Oh, there's a crack. Oh, you've got a crack there. And probably a bit of water's getting in and running down the back of those pieces of stone and then in through that. See the spalling there? That's because that's become damp. And there as well. So that's the cause of the dampness there. No biggie. And what I think is happening is it's causing the external brick to become damp and then increasing the risk of condensation rather than penetrating the whole way through. So that's that really. Testing the system, but with this rather elaborate method, which is the official way of doing it, but it's really cumbersome, and I don't find actually there's much in the way of greater accuracy, but it stops the, so sometimes you have sort of effectively a resonance when the propeller, as in the fan, can cause the propeller of the anemometer to run at the same frequency. So by having a big funnel like this, it increases the accuracy to some degree. But I actually, looking at it, I don't think it's going especially fast. So I'll have a look at the number now. The other thing is that I can't test it when the top is on, so I'll take it off. But again, I don't find a huge difference. Yeah, so it's saying 3.5 litres, and it should be 15. It's that second number. In terms of stopping mould and condensation in the rest of the property, it's actually better to have slightly lower temperature in the bathroom and the air flowing through it, and then drawing the heat from the rest of the house, rather than wasting air coming out of the bathroom. So just keep the light on and the door closed. I mean, these things don't consume much heat, so electricity, energy even.